Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Yo with Apex Wheels. We are out at Sonoma Raceway at Sears Point. I'm driving my 996 today, running HPDE, but we're actually here for this beautiful C6 Z06. We've got a special driver with this special car. We're gonna talk to him, find out a little bit more about this car, see how he's doing at Sonoma Raceway, and let's dig into the details.
My name is Matt Paige, and I own Laptimz Motorsports.
Matt, thanks for having us today. It's awesome to be out at Sonoma Raceway with you. What is the purpose of this C6 Z06?
So the purpose of this C6 Z06 is this is essentially an illustration of what our company can do. Yep. We want to make getting on track approachable for anybody. So you could have an old Mustang, you could have an old Hyundai. I happen to be a Corvette enthusiast, but to the naked eye or to the untrained eye, you know, looking at this car, it's got a fancy wing on it, but it's a predominantly stock, aesthetically looking car. So that was the main focus on this build. Was I wanted it to retain street functionality, but still be very competent, capable, and reliable on track.
What are some of the things that make this a bit special?
So the unique thing about this car is that those that are familiar with the LS7 motor or the C6 Z06 is they have a tendency to drop valves, and the motors aren't necessarily the most reliable. So the focus on this entire build was reliability and being able to run lap after lap after lap in cooler conditions and not have the temperature levels rise to anything unsafe. So instead of throwing all the money at like big power and like a built motor and all that type of stuff and a fancy motor, we over-engineered the cooling system on it. So there's not too much sexy things that you can see outside like the aesthetics, but the main focus of this build was a dry sump cooling to run lap after lap and be reliable on a track day like this.
How about the aero? Let's talk about the aero a bit. You got the front splitter and then obviously the big wing.
Right.
How does that come into play?
The unique thing about this aero, it's all chassis mounted, which I know, you know, if you're somewhat familiar with the debates on the internet, where the aero is mounted, how effective or functional it really is. So this aero is from LG and G-Speed, and it's all chassis mounted. So the rear stays are mounted to the crash beam, and then the front is also mounted to a cradle.
So with the chassis mounted aero bits and things, how does that work with the suspension, let's say? What are you running for suspension?
I went with a recipe that was already tried and true. So LG Motorsports has a long history of not only competing but winning races for quite some time in Trans Am and all that. So to ensure that the aero is appropriately balanced, we also had to pair it well with the appropriate set of like spring rates and coilovers, and then also you're putting so much more load on the chassis. Okay, well now you got to start looking at bushings and sways, and you know now you're messing with the factory geometry. So now you're looking at drop spindles to make sure you're doing geometry corrections. So we literally touched every component of the suspension to ensure that no portion of the aero or the power or the levels of grip overwhelms or overpowers anything else, which is actually also where the wheels came into play.
What made you switch to the Apex setup? I know you were running something else before.
A number of companies make really good looking wheels and that type of thing, but Apex has really stepped up their game with making very appealing, aesthetically just like good looking wheels, which is phenomenal. Second, the fact that they came out with a forged offering that can fit darn near any chassis that I'm even familiar with, they've really taken care of that. These wheels are great, they're incredibly strong, there's no flex in them. They look good, they fit well, they're durable. The biggest part of why I bought Apex wheels is really, it's your customer service.
Oh, really?
When you go to your website, listen, there's so much information out there about what kind of wheels you want. You want a forged line wheel, you want a CCW, things like that. First of all, when you try and track down that information, you can't get a person on the phone. Every time I've called Apex, I've talked to a person that's been on the phone. Second, it's almost like the Google for wheels, right? It's like, will this wheel and tire combo fit my car? It's like, okay, and you've broken it down to a level of wheel, offset, application. And
in our fitment guides, right?
In your fitment guide. So that's essentially what it is your fitment guide. No other company has the attention to detail and the focus on the fitment guide. And as a consumer, when I'm spending thousands of dollars on wheels, I need to know that they're gonna fit. And it's easy to kind of you know, if you were to call and talk to a customer service rep who doesn't really want to talk to you and you've been on hold, it's easy to kind of get lost in translation. But when I have a printed guide, I can look at my chassis, my specific setup, and you give me not even just an option that would work best, but a handful of options. You also give options for tires. So it's not just a wheel thing for me. It's like, I want to be able to go to one centralized location, and I want to walk away from that. And when I'm spending this kind of money, I want to be able to walk away from this, and I want to know that I've got a wheel that's suited for the tire. If you go and you try and price out a forged wheel that you can take on track, that Apex guys, these are all track guys. I know a number of these fellas, and they run these organizations. They're all track guys that do this. Try and do any type of price analysis or price match. You cannot beat the price that you guys do.
Like you said, we are track guys too at Apex, and it's like we take into the things account, and we talk to you guys. Obviously, I'm talking to you right now, and you know, thank you for that testimonial, because honestly, this is like the second time that somebody's mentioned the Fitment guides during our interviews, and you know, we want to put in the homework for you guys to make it easier. So it's good that you are validating that for us. Let's talk about the car just a little bit more. I kind of want to get some basic stuff like wheel horsepower, the weight of the car.
The power on this car, we actually had to detune it. So I bought this car with 9,000 miles on it, and it was an original K-Tech build. K-Tech builds motors for Corvette racing and all them. So this was a low mile, pristine example, 9,000 miles with the K-Tech motor already built. And K-Tech, when they serial numbered their cars, they created these packages back then, right? And this package happened to come with a carbon fiber hood, carbon fiber A-pillar, carbon fiber B-pillar, carbon fiber roof, and carbon fiber trunk. So all of the center of gravity is now towards the bottom, but I painted it all because I wanted it to look as factory as possible. So it's all carbon on the top, and it weighs in right now at 3,000 pounds. So
3,000 pounds with driver? Or
with driver.
With driver, wow.
Yeah, so we did a lot of aftermarket components, suspensions, JRZ, and different odds and ends here and there, but it's a tremendously light car. And then we actually choked the power down, so I had purchased it with like 575 wheel horsepower and a massive cam. And we actually detuned it a bit, corrected the head issue, and now it's putting out like 525 to the wheel.
I just want to know a bit about Laptimz Motorsports. What do you guys do there?
So Laptimz Motorsports, we take an auto enthusiast and we develop them into driving on the track. So we'll take people that typically, say there's a lot of folks out there that have sports cars, or they have a car that they modify, or someone that's just in the scene or an auto enthusiast. And what our focus is at Laptimz is we want to be able to take their passion for modifying their car, and we want to show them what all these modifications can actually do when they're on track.
So you're taking like a regular enthusiast that's just interested in cars and maybe interested in track, and providing them that support to get on track?
Exactly. I think, you know, if you think about when we all first started tracking cars, it's very intimidating. It's really intimidating. So you kind of, there's not necessarily a centralized place where you understand, you know, what do I need to go? Where do I need to go? Do I need track insurance to go? What needs to happen to my car? Is my car appropriate for this type of thing? So essentially we can act or function as somewhat of a concierge service to an enthusiast that's looking to get themselves on track. And then the second part, if you remember even how overwhelming it is the first day that you actually arrive at a track. And you come to a place like this and you've got the grandstands, you've got really loud cars, and you got really fast drivers. And then it's so much to consume in such a small period of time that you're just kind of so stimulated and overwhelmed. It's like, well, I've got a driver's meeting. Well, where's the driver's meeting? You know, where do I grid? What does my schedule look like? So it's really easy to really not be present in the actual track experience of your first day. So that's where Laptimz will come in, is we'll function as a concierge / almost even like a coach or a mentor. And we will do everything from scheduling the track day to getting you your insurance. We'll evaluate the car and put together a proposal of like, okay, depending on what your experience level is, there's no universal truth for experience when it comes to driving a car. Some people just have natural talent. Natural talent, really. And then some people are maybe a bit more cerebral, right? And they can understand the concept and the function of a car, but once they get in, it's a lot of car to handle, you know? And it's going to be a difference in an enthusiast that owns a Corvette versus an enthusiast that owns a Miata.
Or vice
it's going to be two completely unique approaches, but that's essentially a cornerstone of our business, is we can tailor it exactly to what the individual needs in order to get them on track.
For a beginner especially, or even someone who's been doing this a while and maybe just needs some help to like get developed. Like you're trying to do everything, and obviously hand tailor that experience for that person.
Right, there's a huge component of coaching that we're gonna do. So say we've moved past the phase of identifying, you know, what car you have, where we wanna go and all that type of thing. Getting you on track and just kind of learning and understanding car control and the dynamics of how cars handle, like where the weight transfer goes and things of that nature. A big part of that business is actually in the coaching of the driver and development of a driver once we get to the track. I'd say the target market of like what we do isn't, I can work with seasoned racers and that type of thing, but the more core of our business is surrounded around someone that is just starting out. Because I feel like that's where the biggest gap is. It's like, if you signed up at a track day and they just give you a coach, right? And it could be anybody, but imagine you show up to a track day and you already have the car, so we'll do like a car rental. You already have, you know, on a 90-degree day, like we have RVs that you can sit in the AC. And
pamper them a bit.
Honest to God, it's like a white glove service. On your first day, we also review data and we review like video footage of what you're doing, because I don't know if you can really wrap your head around what data is.
Especially if you're starting to begin. You know, even for advanced guys, it's like when you throw data in, it's very confusing to start with. So you're really holding their hands throughout the whole process.
Exactly.
How's your day at Sonoma? I know you're running with the fast group today. You said you hit a personal best today. So what was that time?
I ran a 142 today.
142 flat?
A 142.4.
How long have you been driving?
So I've been driving now for 15 years. I've been an auto enthusiast all my life, but I've been driving for only 15 years. I tend to be very competitive. I tend to be very detail-oriented and focused. So once I started driving and doing it, you know, on the track, it's been
kept progressing.
A steady progression. It's almost like a neurosis. Like I can't stop thinking about it. So I obsess over it, which is also part of kind of like what I do with my business is. I obsess over that type of stuff too. So allow me to, kind of like the website, right? If you want to draw a parallel, is the amount of attention to detail you put into your website, that's the type of clientele, like that isn't going to appeal to everybody, but that market that it does appeal to, that's the market that I'm interested in. The ones that care about attention to detail, meticulous nature of work, like things like that. So.
Well, you know, we're trying to cater to everybody, just as you know, try to cater to the beginner. Hopefully we give them enough information where they can make a good, valid choice and feel good about that decision, you know. Obviously you felt good about that, so again, I appreciate the time, Matt, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Awesome, man.
Thanks.
That wraps it up for us at Sonoma Raceway, guys. I want to thank Matt Paige for talking about his C6 Z06 build and what they do at Laptimz Motorsports. If you guys want to see more car feature content like this, let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more. And if you guys are looking for fitment guides, check those links in the description below. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.